woe is me, they have seen what I've seen. Yes, my mama didn't let them make change on me. Put change on me. Yeah, woe is me, this is the product of ADD. Apothecary, not for me. I dream naturally. Yeah, woe is me, they have seen what I've seen.
Greetings and or salutations, and welcome to Imbibe Cinema. I'm your host, Jonathan C. Legat. I am here along with
Michael Noens
and Tricia Legat.
We're going to be discussing Always Be My Maybe, while imbibing Samuel Adams Summer Ale, and a few of us will actually be drinking Kirkland's Bourbon because it's yummy.
Yeah.
I figure if we keep plugging Kirkland's Bourbon throughout the podcasts, we might get sponsorship. Just saying.
So good because
They'll
we
just
go through
send
way
them-
too much
Yeah.
bourbon.
Send it to
Because
For
our
them not
budget
to.
for this bourbon is pretty high right now. The Imbibe Cinema podcast is brought to you by the Blue Whiskey Independent Film Festival, otherwise known as BWIF. Our festival seeks independent, character-driven films of all lengths, styles, and genres. To learn more, please visit us at bwiff.com. That is BWIFF.com. So I guess to start off, I will go on a limb and say that this was an amazing independent film, in my humble opinion. I especially liked the writing, the acting, the cast. They made such a wonderful, nuanced film where it was beautifully character-driven. The dialogue was so natural, and the awkward moments were just beautiful. They weren't beyond
We're
anything.
the perfect level of awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not so awkward that it becomes like awkward that it's awkward, just like perfect.
Yes. But, and I feel that has a lot to do with the fact that the two lead characters, Ali Wong and Randall Park, were actually writers for this. And so I feel that that's one major reason why they were able to make this dialogue jump right off the page and feel so natural.
Yeah, that's so great that you have, your two leads, especially in like a romantic comedy like this,
Yeah.
your two leads who both wrote it. That's very rare, I feel. Like, yeah, you see them as producers. I think Tricia was talking about that.
Yeah.
We're directors,
Right.
but not writers. In fact, I think it should be mandated now. And just think how like there are people out there that are like, oh my God, they're such an amazing star. They're such a great actor. And then you're like, God, you are an awful writer. That script was terrible. I laughed so hard. Thank God these people were amazing writers.
Yeah, they really were.
Yeah.
And I think that also, that worked into their chemistry on screen. Yeah, it was just very delightful.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, there's a number of quotes that I know for the last couple of days I've been, pulling out every once in a while.
Right. Well, and I think it's funny when I saw on IMDb, they had a little romantic comedy quote quiz they were giving each other.
Yes.
And they picked the quote from their film to be, I punch Keanu Reeves.
Yes.
I don't know if it was complete like in the face or, non-specific. But I thought, no, there are so many other ones. And romantically speaking, like the one that is, I want to hold your purse.
Yeah.
Yes.
The big, speech at the end. However,
Spoilers.
oh yeah, they don't get together, or do they? Who knows?
In a rom-com? No.
No,
No.
that would be a different ending.
It takes a real weird turn.
Turn to the end.
Right? And then they walk off with a sidekick. But no, the one that's stuck in my head and it makes me giggle, and this is just disturbing about who I am as an individual. But the one that I love is when he's talking about his current girlfriend, Jenny. And he's like, she's like a sexy Asian Winnie the Pooh because she sleeps pantless.
Yes.
And I'm like, I don't know why, but that just makes me giggle every time I hear it.
Every piece of dialogue from some of the awkward post-coital scenes, as well as just about anything else, they rolled off the tongue so easily that makes them even more memorable as a quote.
Yeah, the Parmesan cheese.
Parmesan cheese, yeah.
Yeah. Kind of going off that.
And just to clarify, that is not inappropriate. It was in the glove compartment. We don't know why. Maybe it's an emergency purpose glove compartment. It's weird.
Or was
right.
it?
It's like, why is there Parmesan cheese in the
And
glove
where is it being used? Do we want to know?
Well, his
just
mom
think,
does cook a lot.
That's true.
But I just think, like, it's going to get warm in San Francisco.
No,
Just baking.
warm Parmesan cheese. Maybe he was trying to
Parmesan
bake
cheese.
Parmesan cheese in the glove compartment.
It's a choice.
People have done radiator eggs. Just saying.
Okay, now as far as the script hitting certain beats
Mm-hmm.
and the what would I put this as? The dialogue, as we've said, is very natural, very realistic. But there are beats that this film hit with the script that I think were subtle and really hit home, where I was like, oh my God, I've been in that moment.
Yeah.
Like when they haven't seen each other for a while and there's this awkward interaction for the first few times that they meet. And then there's this reconnection in the car where he's driving her home from dinner with his girlfriend, and they kind of just start joking, and it's a little awkward, but here are these two people who know each other very well. And there's that, like,
Falling back into
those steps and that closeness, that intimacy that good close friends have that you can start to see coming through, or just the awkward conversation afterwards, where it's something that's like, oh my God, I've been there. You don't know what to say. It's really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And you're like, this did not play out the way I've seen it on television. Not that you watch
Especially
that on
the
television,
back of-
maybe in the films. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that trying to make it feel cool and then just failing miserably.
Yeah. He's trying to put his arm around her, but
And he doesn't know where to put his arm, and he keeps
it's
going
just like,
everywhere.
yeah.
But it's not over the top. It's not. There are lots of, and we've talked about this earlier, where, like, I have a deep respect for Will Ferrell. I love the man. Stranger Than Fiction, one of my favorite films of all time. But he's an example of somebody who I think when he does slapstick kind of comedy, he goes over the top. And to me, that's a certain people like that. I'm not terribly into that. I think it's funnier when it's more downplayed.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think the beats that they hit are really, really funny.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, one of the things that has struck me specifically about the script is you've got a successful female character and you've got kind of a schlub of a guy, but at the same time they don't necessarily fall into the more recent tropes with that. Specifically, yes, he does need to pick himself off the bootstraps, but at no point does he like suddenly become wildly successful with his band, and like that now he's being picked up by an agent or anything like that. He again, the I want to hold your purse is his realization that he's not his social footprint. What is it?
Cultural
footprint is not as large as Keanu Reeves or Sasha's, and so that's the reason he must die. But
Spoilers.
it's spoilers. Yeah, I know we're just going to keep hitting that one, but no, but it's nice to see that she makes the first move, saying, "I love you. I've always loved you. You've always been the guy." Like. So
in the perfect moment,
oh,
too.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't expect that
No.
in that turnaround. And then the moment it came out, I was like, yeah, I see your frustration. I feel your frustration. And I'm glad that you're just opening up.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and obviously after that much wine, and we know it wasn't cheap wine, that would happen. Also, as far as we're going to speak to strong women in film, this is maybe a minor thing for some people, but I just want to say, hell yeah. For a romantic leading lady to wear a pair of glasses the entire time because her eyesight doesn't magically change, and you can be sexy in glasses, damn it.
But she has paint on her overalls.
No, anyone but her, not Janie Briggs. Guys, she's got glasses and a ponytail. Oh, look at that. She's got paint on her overalls. What is that? Guys, there's no way she could be prom queen.
She's
And
hideous.
a ponytail and glasses. Not another teen movie. Sorry, there we go. Yeah, we're gonna divert a little.
Going off these moments that kind of come back, kind of like the I'll hold your purse.
Yeah.
But what I loved is some of the non-dialogue driven stuff that they did, where it came back in a very subtle way, and the where she kisses him in the car, and then he's like, "Wait, what?" And then that comes back later on. And what I love is they're both sitting on, they switch sides.
Yep.
So it's always like the passenger side that initiates the kiss.
And then
it's the
immediately
same
freaks
type
out.
of reaction. And
Which is a note to everyone. If you're on the passenger side of the vehicle,
Make the initiative.
it is your turn.
Your turn. Yeah, it is your duty.
It's not peer pressure. It's just your turn.
So, like another one, you mentioned like the post coitus.
It's just fun to say.
It is,
Nobody
it
puts
really
it in
is.
conversation these days.
Absolutely.
I do frequently.
But I love how we revisit that awkwardness the second time, and then it's just broken with a laugh, and all of a sudden, it's like everything's right, everything's good. And I love
Don't
that.
slut shame
Yeah,
me.
because at the same time you're thinking, oh my God, they're back to that same awkward, because they did such an amazing job of playing that moment.
Yes.
Almost bookending it, and you're like, oh no, and then it turns out that they're both very satisfied. Not Keanu Reeves satisfied, but still satisfied. Yeah, her toes are probably not curling still right now, thinking of that moment.
Wow. Let me say, John really likes Mr. Reeves.
He plays himself, but plays himself as an asshole is even more interesting.
Right?
I love the suit. Classic.
Thank you. It's my old tux from prom.
Oh, that's great. I dropped out of high school, went to work, followed my dream.
Does anyone know what a gooby chair is? I was so confused, and yet I am not Googling it because I have pride.
Oh.
So
I'm going to
you're just
stop
fine
using-
never
Never know.
knowing. Just never knowing. You know what? You should just drop gooby chair, I think, into
All of your
conversation and be
vernacular.
like, hey, is that a gooby chair? Really nice gooby chair. What are you talking about? That is not a gooby chair. Don't tell me what it is. I don't want to know what it is.
It's what I think it is. Reality is perception.
Oh,
John looked it up.
yeah. I have no pride. I will look up this stuff.
I said gooby too much.
Gooby is actually, it looks like a brand.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so disappointing.
Yeah. But it does have,
style.
it does
Maybe
have,
some
in
sort of
fact,
space futuristic
4
shag furry
legs.
thing.
Oh,
It has more than one leg.
It has 4 legs.
Right.
I just kept saying
Hand
Gooby.
gesture.
Yeah.
some of the character dynamics coming out of the script that I particularly loved was the father-son dynamic. Every time that the two of them, I can think of like 3 scenes off the top of my head. But when it was just the two of them in a room and their dynamic, there was always something to learn. And I always felt like there was just so much life popping off the screen. I was just fully engaged
There's a
in
natural
that.
chemistry
Right.
between the two.
And he's not a main character at all. You know,
And
you kind
we
of
talked
forget
about
about him
this.
at a point.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, Dad.
Yeah.
Well, and the fact that like so many rom-coms or comedies in general, when you have a parent in the room, they're a joke. They're
Right.
like,
foil.
well, who's
Yeah.
the father in American Pie?
Oh yeah.
That kind of thought.
Oh.
Or there's a mom that I'm thinking of, and I can't remember who or where, but she's always stoned. You know, it's where you have like that offbeat parent where it's a caricature, almost a caricature.
Right.
And it just seems like they're there for a laugh, but they're not really a parent. And Mr. Kim is.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
he goes in a direction where you expect it to be dismissive, or you expect it to be like he just doesn't understand, because parents never understand.
Yeah. Right. He's
And
very accepting.
he does. And then some of the things that people honestly say, and I love where they try to answer a question really when you really weren't saying anything, like, you know, oh, you look so good. How do you stay so young? You never age. I use shampoo on my face.
Yes.
And he's actually answering the question. It's like, no, I totally do that.
How much money do you have? No, he's serious.
He's asking.
There were so many little surprises, I feel, in that, where he's like, oh, okay, this is where this movie's gonna go, or oh, this is where this dialogue, this scene is gonna go, and you're like, oh,
Pleasant
And the way it
surprise
goes
almost
is
every time.
almost more realistic, more real.
yes.
And it's like, oh, I've been in that moment, or I've heard of that moment, and it's a really genuine,
Yeah.
but funny moment.
It's not
Right.
staged.
Right. Well, and all the awkwardness. There's so much awkward, And
beautifully awkward.
Oh yeah, like when Mr. Kim is asking Sasha about her fiance.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, he's a young 50." It's like I have no idea what to say.
He seems like an old man, or a little older than I would have expected. How old is he?
And the fact
young
that
50.
she's pulling stuff out, like he shops at Under Armour. Why would you tell anybody that? It's like, I have nothing to say about the man I'm going to marry, so I'm just going to give you weird facts because I'm on the spot and I have no idea what to say.
Yeah. Right. Or one of our personal favorites, I'm an ally of the LGBTQ.
Oh my God!
Thank you for your service. I'm sorry. What did he just say?
But everybody's been at a moment where you're like, I have no idea, but I want to show that I'm supportive of you, but I have no idea what I'm saying. And it's going horribly.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah. You throw the wrong foot. It happens.
It happens a lot in my case.
Well, and with the sequences or moments, I should say, when there is this awkward pause and whatnot, I had moments when, because I was just watching it myself. It was just me. Yeah. And so, like the scene when he first sees, Marcus first sees Veronica, and there's that awkward, about her piercings.
Oh, yes.
Did you lose your piercings?
Not all of them.
Right. And then, there's this, that was probably the longest pause in it. And I laughed. And then I was like, I kind of wish I was in a movie theater and I had like 50 people around me, because the reaction to that would have been totally different.
Explosive.
Right, and
it would have been hilarious, where it was funny to me.
Yeah.
But it would have been even funnier.
There was a 3 take in there, because it went from him to her, back to him, back to her.
With like the raised eyebrow.
While just silence. It was just their reactions to the reaction of the last reaction. And the fact that it just was that much silence.
Right.
Where are these piercings? I don't see any piercings. Let my imagination take hold. This is lasting a long time. Are we all going to the same place? However, I that is the difference we talked about earlier about streaming versus theater. Right. And how some things kind of get lost in streaming that you would get in the theater release.
This movie is like a good example of, sure, great on streaming, but it would be cool to have like a theatrical opportunity to see this film with a crowd. And so it's like, sometimes I feel like it's just, it's got to be streaming, or it's going to be theater, but can't, like movies that come out in the theaters, they eventually are streaming. Can't like a streaming film also be showcased in the theater at some point down the line?
Right. Well,
up to a certain amount of popularity. That's sure.
Right. And if
like
you
a special screening or something like that.
Historically speaking, you think of the made-for-TV movies versus theatrical. I mean, that's where we're going, right? And it's not like made-for-TV movies suddenly made it to the big screen. But then there's a big difference between what that was and what streaming is.
Oh, yeah.
And independent film now as compared to the studio system and its control then.
Can I talk a little bit about some of the editing?
Yes.
Just kind of going right off to like the very first moment, like the first thing you see in the movie. I have never seen a movie that has shown you so much history just with imagery, and such a creative way to be like, okay, here are these characters, and let's show you this timeline, and then go back in time, see them, not going straight back to where you're going, show the progress. It's like of going back in time to the point where the first line of dialogue, it's like you didn't have to see any promotional material for this film to completely understand in that moment the history and what kind of movie you were about to see. And there wasn't even a line of dialogue. It was just all told visually, and I thought that was so perfect. I mean, that was the hook for me. For me, I was like, okay, I'm sold. I want to know what's going on. I want to see this journey.
One of the things that caught me was, and this is now dating myself, the idea that when you reconnect with somebody you haven't seen in forever, that immediately afterwards on your own time, you look them up.
Oh, yeah.
And you start reading about them, and they both do that in the film. And I'm like, what did people do before that? Did they just like hang out on your street and like stare at the
stare through your window?
How spoiled are we that we can stalk each other so like classy and find out everything that we wouldn't be able to find out and have a better jumping off point the next time you see somebody to
In
have
fact,
a reference.
I'm not going to lie. To that argument, it's a good thing that she finds out about his band, because what she's cyber stalking is his band.
Right.
Whereas if he wasn't in a band, she would just be straight cyber stalking.
Also, well, Facebook,
just
could be
Googling his name and
well,
going crazy, like creepy
Well,
stalker.
no, that's what people do, right? They they Google the name or they Facebook.
Well, that's what he did with her, reading this food and
she's
wine
a
article.
famous food and wine person.
So his band, which is awesome.
Yeah,
right?
it really is.
It's an awesome band.
I would want to go to a show,
Surprisingly,
right?
actually.
They should probably have shows to promote the film. Why not?
Yeah.
And then throw out tennis balls, and then it's like breaking the fourth wall. It's so, what is that? Synchronized? No, it's
Meta.
swimming. So meta. It's a synergy. There you go.
Synergy. That's
There's the fun buzzword. The other thing was where he has this great band, and there is no point in the film where he's trying really hard with his band to grow beyond where he was because he was afraid to grow, and all of a sudden there's some famous record label that happened to be in the audience and was like, "Oh my God, I'm going to sign you now, and you're going to be awesome."
At most, they end up going to the bar on the other side of town. It's 3 times the size of the dive bar they've currently been playing, but that is the big character leap for him.
absolutely. I mean, it's that block basically is his life for the most
For
part.
16 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it speaks to, people's comfort levels. And I mean, I've met people like that,
Yeah.
where they're like, I mean, okay, maybe not a block, but you know what I mean? Like where they have no desire to leave because that's their comfort zone.
Yeah.
Well, and you're
And
a big
so
fish
it
in a
was
little
another-
pond, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Another beat that I really liked how realistic it was when Sasha tells Veronica why her and her fiance are taking time apart. And you had seen another thing about the editing I like is you see him start to explain why he's doing this, and then you cut to her really fleshing out and explaining in detail what they're doing, right? And you can see how she's like, I'm embracing this. He sold it well. I'm on board. And as she's regurgitating it at her best friend, and her best friend's like, "What is wrong with you?" She's getting this reaction. She's like, "No, it's totally good. It's totally good." Pantry cry. Me to cry in a pantry now, because it's like that's when you realize, no, there's something really wrong when you explain it to somebody else, and they're like, "No, there's something really wrong with that."
Right. Yeah.
Because in your head, it's wrong. But once what a rehearsed speech, though.
But it seemed like she was
It's
trying
so
to buy
that
into
he
it.
can
She was
be a
trying to
better
rationalize
husband.
it.
We're also going to see other people.
What? And then beyond that, the progression, it starts with that cry and Wolf saying it out loud, then that cry, and then it's like it doesn't really come up a whole lot, but you do watch her getting more and more upset about it to the point where she does just lash out at him. You see how it got built up to that because it was all just internalized, and there's no that just is going to build up to a point where you're just going to explode.
Yeah.
Well, and then you wonder, this character, Sasha's character, is such a interesting one in the fact that, unlike a lot of stereotypical female leads who share with all their friends all their feelings or are kind of going over in their head, the overthinking, critical thing, she kind of represses a lot.
Yeah.
And you see that through the fact that she doesn't speak to her parents very often that we know of, and that there's a lot of stuff that is not resolved between her and her parents because we don't talk about it really. And that conversation they have in high school that he pretty much tells her, my mom, not your mom. Right. And that is so heartbreaking to watch. And she yells at him, but she runs, she walks away. And then it's like, is that the last conversation they had? Did they ever talk after that?
I guess not.
Yeah,
right?
it doesn't sound
and then
like
that's a lot to carry with you when you know how much that woman meant to her.
Yeah.
And she obviously never talked to Mr. Kim in all that time either.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, wow, this woman bottles up a lot.
Right. Well, and how that's that experience, that moment, reliving that over and over again for, what was it, 15 years?
16, yeah.
Yeah. For that long, I mean, you totally get why she loathes his existence when she all of a sudden is surprised, by his presence 16 years later.
Yeah, that's why Veronica thinks she's being cute by setting them back up.
Right.
He's not even my type anymore. What? Because he's not a douche? No, he is a douche.
Hides
He's just
it well.
hides it well. Because again, Veronica doesn't necessarily know what transpired 16 years ago. It's
right. She probably just knows it as part of a story.
Yeah.
She wasn't there.
Yeah. And possibly a story that Sasha had relayed to her a number of times, and who knows how that got.
Well, and then you have Veronica has her own agenda.
Knowledge.
And it's not very well concealed, but it is it is deliberate what she does. I thought it was just Mr. Kim. It says "and son" on the title.
Well, I thought it was the sun, like in the sky.
Guy.
It's not even spelled the same way. There's
Right.
no way.
And you're like, that's a terrible lie. But this is the same character that's like fiction or nonfiction. I can't remember which is the real one.
Yes, that's true.
Like, oh my God, pregnancy ate her brain. I think the ending of the film is kind of abrupt. We talked about that.
Oh, yeah.
There's not as much denouement, not wrap up with side characters. Everybody doesn't get their curtain call.
No, you don't get Abraham Lincoln and
right,
Old
we don't
Yeller.
bring everybody back.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are a lot of films that do that, and I'm curious almost to know if it was a deliberate choice, as some films do, where it's like you don't need to know more than this. This is the end.
Yeah.
We kiss, so you don't need to know the future, kind of thing. But sorry, in other cases, I wonder if there was more, and it was just edited out.
Right.
Like
Or maybe
if we
it
found
was-
out what happened to Keanu Reeves.
It's true. The whole, photo clip montage set to "Don't you forget about me," where they tell us where everything that happened to each character.
That really helped me
Yes.
with my closure in Game of Thrones.
I know, right? So we're going to take a couple-minute break here, and I need to fill my glass so that I can imbibe some more, but we'll be right back after this.
Foxhole Creative is a production company and venue in Chicago's Lincoln Square neighborhood. Host your next private event, screening, meeting, or project at their versatile space. Their production team is the solution to your creative needs. Whether you need a commercial or online promo video for your business, an exhibit set up for an event or festival, or a boutique crew to shoot your next short or feature film, they've got you covered. Step into their sound booth for the perfect voiceover recording and work with them for all your post-production needs. Learn more at thefoxhole.com.
So you are listening to Imbibe Cinema. I'm Jonathan C. Legat, and once again, I am here with
Michael Noens.
Tricia Legat.
Do you like the show? If so, please subscribe to make sure that you get the newest episode as soon as it becomes available. Rate and or leave us a review, preferably a nice one, to help the show reach a larger audience. And you know what? You can always follow Imbibe Cinema on Facebook and Twitter, where we would post all sorts of shenanigans and random thoughts.
Fun times.
Yeah.
I like it.
So we had previously been discussing some of the scripts, the dialogue, and the editing. This film had pretty much been very cohesive on all of these. And one of the key factors to this in my head was pretty much the amazing cast. They had done such an amazing job. I mean, granted, obviously you've got your two head writers as your two lead actors, but even their supporting cast, as Tricia had mentioned earlier, had done such a great job.
Well, they got great moments.
Yeah.
A lot of films, like the side characters get, a gag here and there, and they have, they represent a stereotype or a caricature that we're all like, oh, I get who that is. I know who that is. That's the IT guy who thinks he's your friend, who's always listening in. Or that's your best friend who's always telling you all the negative and never the positive.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff where they hit a beat and you go, okay, I know one about this character and we're fine. And their scenes are usually when they're spotlighted, I think. The ones that get edited out first for time or for whatnot. And here they have such great moments that they give to the supporting cast. And their supporting cast, to me, doesn't fit like nice pigeonholes that normally do. They're very interesting, very and I know I've said this a lot, so forgive the redundancy, but I have been drinking, and I'm a redundant person in nature. Anyway.
She just nurture. That's awesome.
Maybe.
On purpose, because I'm that good. Let me drink some more. Brings out my... right, so anyway, where were we? Oh, yes. The redundancy. It's real. The real people kind of aspect. I love Tony and Veronica. We all love Mr. Kim.
Yes. James Saito.
And even Mrs. Kim, in the moments that she gets
Judy. Yep.
before she dies. I'm sorry, spoiler alert.
Wow.
And they never say how.
They don't.
No. He does say that there was an accident.
So we know it was a murder.
What?
But no.
Tell us more.
Okay, now
I did
casting.
not
I
do
do.
that.
My biggest.
It originally
so
was
we have
Kim
sung
and wife.
We were singing the praises of this film, and I do love this movie, but can't all be sunshine and roses. And I wouldn't say it's necessarily a criticism as much as I am curious to your thoughts. And I just don't know if anybody does this. Is you look at how we have the young cast, we have the kids. Because Michael had mentioned how we start in the present in our little snapshot historical backtrack, right? And then we get to the kids and we start with the kids. So this is a relationship that started very young, and then they get to be teenagers, and then they get to be adults. Now, Randall and Allie do an amazing job of playing high school students. They acted the hell out of that shit. However, they're not high school students, and there are kids in the flashbacks. There are kids in those segments that are high schoolers, and to me that makes them look even older when you have actual high school aged people. And so I wonder why they didn't choose to let the teenagers play the teenagers, because to me then there's nothing lost in that, except I am wondering because the high schoolers were high schoolers and they look very young, and I think maybe we'd all be a little weirded out if they had sex.
Well,
even though that's what they're supposed to be doing.
There are two pivotal moments that happen in the scenes where Allie and Randall are playing younger than they should be. And that is coitus, as well as the breakup scene. The breakup of not just a relationship, but their friendship, flat out for 16 years. And I think that, you hear time and again where you go into a film set and the actors talk about the fact that the first scene that they did with their co-star was like the sex scene. And you wonder whether or not that's like one of those things where it's, okay, do these two either have chemistry, or can we break this, like whatever acting tensions need to be broken by having a sex scene.
However, in this instance, the thing that we highlight in that loss of virginity, at least in one case that we know of, in that Toyota, it was a Toyota, right?
I don't remember.
I don't want to give the wrong vehicle. But the loss
it was small.
Yes. Can't make no love in a Toyota. But the idea being that the thing that we focus on is the awkwardness of it. And that is something that we can all relate to, and how they're trying to make it romantic or just less awkward in general. And you don't see, there is no nudity. There is no that. So teenagers could play that, and we wouldn't be all like, I feel uncomfortable. I mean, unless it's Game of Thrones, then everybody's naked. But in this instance, I don't see why it wouldn't be, and it did confuse me because I am a simpleton. And so when Mr. Kim shows up, I'm like, and he's telling them something that happened to Mrs. Kim. I'm going, oh, are we in college? Like, I just can't picture them in high school. Right. I was confused, and it's no knock against their ability to perform as teenagers. They did an amazing job, but I almost wonder what it would be like if you saw that differently. Because then, I don't know. It's just that was my big kind of like, I wish I could have seen it the other way.
Though at the same time, now granted, I'm pulling from a little bit more mainstream, but one of possibly my favorite comments that I had seen on the interwebs was as it relates to Samuel L. Jackson in Captain Marvel, and the fact that they're able to just drastically reduce his age.
Oh yeah, when you see that
through special effects, but then you see a young Samuel L. Jackson run. And he just not run like a young man in that movie.
Right.
There are points where you can see his age just
Right,
because
but-
they take this,
and they did the same
visual.
thing for Michael Douglas, and
Yep.
and so, but I mean, this is again, that's a budget thing. If you had
Well, yes.
Marvel's budget,
Yeah.
you could make people into babies again.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, he wouldn't need just the braces and everything else. They could have made them look like, but again, nobody has that budget. But again, that's the
Right. Well, I don't think that it was necessarily needed to do that either. I mean, it was. I mean, to Tricia's point, it was not necessarily a negative thing. It's just it's like it's a moment that takes you out. But I don't know. I forgave it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, especially once you get into these big matters that are clearly setting up the whole rest of the movie.
Well, yeah, and the point I was trying to make is, at least from an acting standpoint, if I was in those scenes, those are pretty much the jumping points for everything else that's about to follow.
Right.
Those are the two key moments, and they happen in rapid succession from themselves to not be the actual boots on the ground, to not be the one that has that emotional experience. Would cheapen everything that comes afterwards,
Right, so
as
it'd
an
be like-
actor.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, and I mean, it was a great movie. I am curious, and they're not the only ones to do that.
Right.
Like there are lots of films that do that, and I kind of like wonder. It's like, yeah, you're different people, but you were different people 16 years ago, and that's okay for different people to play different people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want teenagers to get more acting work, evidently.
More sex scenes.
But speaking of casting, back to casting.
Oh.
Casting, I love the casting overall. It was amazing. I love the fact that there's a lot of diversity in the film, and it's not just limited to the backgrounds of the individuals who are playing the roles, but also the
diversity of the relationships.
Right, thank you. Because Jenny talks about how she was polyam.
Oh yeah.
But now she's married spiritually and sexually, but not really, but sort of. And
Judy is dating Randall. Randall Park Marcus's character.
Right.
Yep.
And also, she's the sexy Asian
Dating.
Winnie the Pooh.
Yes.
In case you wanted to know who that was, because I love that line. And also, Veronica is having a baby, but she's having a baby with her fiance Denise, and then of course Tony, who is all very supportive of the LGTB. He goes
Thank you for your service.
QAI. He
Yeah.
keeps going.
The alphabet soup.
Yes. And the fact that he says, thank you for your service, because he doesn't know what to say. But I think the more light you shine on mainstream film or shows, any kind of art where you show parts of our community at large where we aren't familiar with because we don't engage with that reduces the amount of ignorance. I mean, not in a bad way necessarily, as in just you don't know.
Yeah.
And it makes it more understanding. Like you can spread understanding through that kind of thing. And so I like that we show more and more of that. In doing a little bit of research on the film, as in going to the IMDb. Wow, I've been drinking. Page. But there was a nice trivia moment that I liked where Allie had talked about how she had specifically wanted Asian Americans in the film, especially in the relationship sections, and how if Keanu wasn't available, that there were other people that they had thought of, and that Randall had thrown out Paul Giamatti just because it's Paul Giamatti. But the thing that I found interesting, and
He's
I really
not of the Asian American.
no, but it is Paul Giamatti.
But it is Paul Giamatti.
And go for him. But the thing that made me laugh and I thought was really sweet was the fact that she talked about how she knew that Keanu had Asian American background and because of Speed. That her family had not shut up about it.
Family and neighbor.
Yeah, the community had not shut up about it. So she's like, other people may have forgotten, but I was not allowed to forget.
Yeah. He is Asian American in the Hawaiian on his paternal side.
In case anyone wanted to know that for a trivia game at some point.
Yeah.
It'll be a
the
key
things
winning,
you learn.
Key winning
Jeopardy question.
Jeopardy question.
That's a pub crawl question. But Keanu Reeves, again, from everything I've heard about the man, he shows up early and helps out setting up craft services.
Right.
Like he is a man among men. What he donates from his time, his money, everything. The fact that he literally gets to play a complete jackass version of himself, and yet at the same time just nails some beautiful beats. They are out at a restaurant where. One of the courses is
Plays
the
with
taste
time.
of Caesar salad. It's not a Caesar salad. It's just the taste of Caesar salad. But they also get to wear headphones
because it's
meal
that it's a meal
of
that
time.
plays with the concept of time. How pretentious is that?
Well, it was a $16,000 or $1,600 plate.
$64,000 meal,
Yeah.
and that is less than a residual
from Speed.
In case you were wondering.
Yes, but they're listening. They each get their own headphones so that they can listen to the deer, the venison that they are literally the one they are eating. And Keanu breaks down crying, says thank you, and then
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
And then at the drop of a hat, just goes back to eating as if nothing had gone on. What a wonderful role to get to play.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And some of the stuff that comes out of his head or out of his mouth where he talks about just like I'm so profound kind of thing, where he Jenny says she's starstruck and he's like the only stars you should be concerned about, and she's like
are
weeping.
the one in our dreams.
Yeah, he's just like weeping at thank you, like she's talking to the Dalai Lama.
Yeah. And apparently a good number of his lines were improvised, but or some of his lines were improvised. Mostly his actions were improvised.
No, he gets total credit for all his karate moves.
Yes.
I'm sure that's from all that hard work on The Matrix.
John Wick.
That was John Wick.
Oh, my
He was
bad.
filming John Wick, and then you said another film.
Another film I'm not familiar with and
I
would
cannot
not
remember.
dare trying to say because it started with a P and it ended with an M.
And amazingly enough, while this movie takes place in San Francisco, the only stuff that was filmed in San Francisco was the stuff with Keanu Reeves.
Right, because everybody loves
Really?
Canada.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Vancouver.
Ah.
I think it has
Wow.
something to do with how cheap it is to film in Canada and how all parts of Canada look like American cities.
It's true.
Like you go to Toronto, it's Chicago.
It really is.
Wow.
I was in a part of Toronto that was essentially the Schaumburg of Toronto. I shit you not. Like we're down, like it was.
So then you just have to find out what city you would like to see in America, but go to
Just go to
Canada.
Right.
I'd like to see Houston, Canada, please.
Here are the blueprints. Can you please build this?
The character Michelle Buteau, who played Veronica, I had IMDb her even before, we really went into the idea of researching this, because I swear
You've seen her before,
that
right?
I've seen her before.
Oh my God, me too.
And yet at the same time, when I looked at the filmography, most of the things that came up were not things that I immediately recognized. So I mean, whether it's just something about her or what, she stood out in this.
Speaking of people who remind you of other people, sorry about that. I get so excited I knock the furniture. Okay, so when Randall is reacting as Marcus during the whole ridiculous, crazy food thing restaurant with Keanu Reeves, a lot of his reactions and stuff, all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, You remind me of Seth MacFarlane right now.
Oh,
Does anybody else see the comparison
I can
between
see
the
it.
two?
Oh, yeah, I can
Kind
see
of
that.
do.
yeah.
I could see that.
Okay, that was that thought. I'm done.
But I know that one of the last thoughts that we really kind of wanted to drive on was some of the symbolism that we had witnessed in this film.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, now to pretentious film stuff. No, I find what I really did love is, okay, you have a chef and you have a musician. And music is really important to the film. And as well as the food. There are lots of sections about food. When she cooks for herself, and you wonder, is that a Sasha thing that she goes crazy, or do chefs really cook that awesome for themselves?
Yeah,
So it seems
especially
like a
if they
waste
are
of food.
all by themselves. Like, I cannot see some
It's
chef
like
who's
professional
been
pride.
like in a kitchen for their entire day, going home and being like, "I'm gonna make myself this really nice meal."
I don't
kinda
know.
see it.
So there's that, and we'll always wonder. And then there's the idea that Marcus and his Toyota, like his Toyota has been with him, and I'm sorry if it's not a Toyota. I'm sorry. In my head, it is, but it's been with him since high
Toyota
school.
thanks you.
yes, especially when I talk about how crap car he's got.
It's a really old Toyota. I mean,
But it's still going.
You see how well it's
16
lasted?
years,
Yeah,
it's
way to go,
lasted.
Toyota.
You know why? Because they're like the Energizer Bunny. No to Energizer.
I loved how he had to break into his own car.
Oh yeah,
To-
the
lock.
passenger
roller
door
falls off.
will not open from the inside or the outside.
True, and I only had that problem with the Cavalier, Chevy Cavalier. Everything fell off. It was like, no wonder people steal this stuff. It just comes off on its own.
This message has been brought to you by Chevy.
It is the car to steal. Anyway,
Wow.
what? I'm drunk. I'm not liable.
I don't think that's how that works.
Yeah, try that.
Anyway, where were we? No, here is a guy who's stuck in the same place for many years. He's not moved on. He's not grown. Where she's kind of gone and not looked back at all. He's not leaving that spot. That Toyota is not either, and it has suffered for that in the process. Also, okay, here's a stretch, and this is the nerd in me. I'm so sorry. You notice in the beginning, her restaurant is Knives and Mercy. Like, what kind of restaurant is that? That's disturbing. I don't know if I want to go in there. And then she goes to, was it Saintly Fare? And it's like, okay, she's chilling out a bit. And then she goes to Judy's Way, which then brings back the fact in the ending. What I liked was, we have his mom's recipes, and I teared up. I was like, oh my God, we brought it back to the soup. It's so sweet. And then it was like all the supporting characters got a, hey. And that was it. I was like, I don't know. I got emotional, and then I just shut down. Like, I acknowledge Tony lost weight. No, we can move on from that.
Yeah. Oh, I see that. Marcus's dad is still with the fake singer. Oh, okay. Quick little vignettes about what's going on, but it
It was just
kind of
like these. Yeah, it was like these fun
It was
little
even
moments.
in credits, wasn't it?
I can't remember. I feel like there was a little bit of credits, maybe right beforehand. Maybe
Between
not.
each?
Maybe if you didn't give everybody the nod goodbye, maybe you've just ended with that. I don't know. Again, it's a great movie. It was one of those things where you kind of went, huh.
They were fun. I
Yeah.
enjoyed. I mean, I enjoyed the little scenes because a little bit more of each of those characters is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
No, not at all. Oh my God, yeah. I love the use of food in the film. I love the use of music in the film and how they were almost characters in themselves because they're an extension. It's that kind of stuff when you see a movie and you realize that like kind of all the loose, there's no loose end. Everything's tied together. It's a neat, well-connected kind of thing. It's not like, well, that's a jump, but I guess I'll rationalize that on my own why that happened.
Right.
There were so many nice little details that all lined up and all supported what the overall character was or the story. And I, for one, am very appreciative, and John will testify, and so will Michael, that I have a problem when there's like, why did they say that, or why did they break that rule, and I'm annoyed now. And this, or it just seemed to lack substance. It was shine, and this had so much substance, and I'm a big fan of that.
It's really what makes like the 6 Aristotelian elements of a play. I know.
Fancy.
I just got really pretentious over here.
We're gonna get edumacated, people.
You are. It nailed on the plot. It nailed on the characters. It nailed on the theme, the language, the rhythm, the spectacle, the music. Everything about it really was cohesive. It hit everything that was necessary to drive a really compelling story. Hit really awkward moments without really taking it beyond the point of
where you leave, you break, you leave the idea of it for the
reality.
You sacrifice the reality for the joke.
Yeah. And so, I think that my recommendation is 2 thumbs up. Go see this movie if you check it out on Netflix if you haven't already.
And if you don't have Netflix, go see this movie at somebody else's house and bring 50 friends, because we really want to know what it's like in the theater atmosphere.
With 50
so
friends.
Please do that.
Once again, thank you to Always Be My Maybe, director, writers, everybody, cast, thank you. But we also greatly appreciate all of our listeners for choosing this podcast and supporting independent films in general, whether it be Netflix or, actually going to an independent film festival. Just
and we know a few, one in particular.
One in particular. But, keep your ears out for the next episode. Hopefully we are dropping this with a couple more so that you can, like Netflix, click next and listen to our dulcet tones again.
So dulcet.
Yes. So check out our show notes or drop us a note. And once again, I'm Jonathan C. Legat, and thanks for imbibing with us. And cheers.
Well said, sir.
To make change on me, put change on me. Yeah, woe is me, this is the product of ADD, apothecary, not for me. I dream naturally. Yeah, woe is me, they have seen what I've seen.